Well, the pressure's on Jeff Lebby. Can he prove he's building real momentum for the Bulldogs, or is hope just masking deeper problems? We break down what the article got right and what it might be missing.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'm Jaron Spor, national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We got a football-packed show for you today. After this segment, we're going to talk about Camron Thompson as he officially got his offer, and we're going to talk about what kind of makes that unique and just how he got it is so important to college football and especially high school recruiting in this era. And also, they've released some of the EA ratings for some of the players out there. Mississippi State tweeted out, I think, 4 players, and so we're going to talk about that and give our thoughts on that. But we got to start with an article that was written by Sports Illustrated, and the article basically is just an overall view of what Jeff Lebby needs to do in year 2. Obviously, year 1 didn't go well, 2-10. But we've talked about this too, and the article is basically what it's talking about is different programs and different places, you have different standards of what you need to show in year 2. And so some programs, like if a coach takes over and 7-win powerhouse type program, they want you back in national championship contention very quickly. But if you take over a program like Mississippi State and where it was, you need to at least start showing progress because they understand it's going to be a rebuild. And so what this article concludes is Lebby needs to show that the light at the end of the tunnel isn't an oncoming train. That's his goal this year.
That's a pretty fair goal. And I mean, we've talked about things like this a lot. Like, you don't expect a huge jump, but you have to show improvement. And a lot of it is there's receivers in the building now. There's a lot of good receivers. Shapen for what he is in his second year. He seems to be healthy. There's been a lot of articles coming out over the last few days about, what he's been doing in the offseason, how his recovery is going, and that he knows the playbook a little bit better now. I mean, so that's really where I expect there to be a jump in what we see on the field is really on the offense. That's Lebby's calling card. He's got the weapons at the receivers. He's got a second-year quarterback. Line should be improved based off of the pieces that have come in. Hopefully, they're working as a unit. Loadholt's got them all coached up. But it really comes down to the defense, what this team is going to be. And, I mean, that falls a lot on the defensive staff because that's not Lebby's, that's not his area.
Right, and you mentioned it. Anytime a coach, whatever side he specializes on, you want to see a major jump on that side in year 2. And so you have to see that from the offense, but you also can't be whatever they 123rd or what they were in defense. You have to be a lot better defensively as well. I mean, you could still be in the 90s and 80s, which isn't great, but that's a vast improvement from what you were last season. And, this article, it has a great quote from Zach Selman. He says, "We're not looking for miracles. We're looking for growth. We want to see a team that competes, that fights, that shows what Mississippi State football is all about." And that kind of goes back to what I've talked about in terms of you need to be that team that's just a pain in the thorn in the side of other people, just that thorn in the side, because and it doesn't always mean you win the game. Just they know if I go to Starkville, that's going to be a terrible game. Like, and maybe Mississippi State wins some, maybe they lose some as well. But they just know, Georgia knows or Texas knows. They go to Starkville, it's going to be a tough battle.
Yeah, you got to put them in a dogfight. And
no pun intended.
Yeah, and and what that comes from is either you have to find your identity. Either you are the high-powered offense that, if they make 2 mistakes on offense, you're going to pull away. Or you have to be that defense that's not going to sack the quarterback, going to not miss any tackles. Basically, you have to have your identity and not beat yourself. If you do those 2 things, you're going to be a pain in the butt to pretty much everyone you play. And if you do those 2 things, I mean, look at what Kansas State does. Most years, they are not the most talented team, but because they don't beat themselves and they know who they are in every game and win a few games they shouldn't every year. If you can replicate that while you build this up, I mean, that's the formula.
And they pop off and have seasons that they really shouldn't have because they just don't beat themselves. And now they play a team that's way more talented than them that doesn't beat themselves as well, and K-State gets waxed. But
sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, that's just how it is. But another thing I thought was good that it talked about was it said best. So they gave the best case scenario for the season, worst case scenario for the season. Best case, it says a couple of early wins to boost morale, competitive Egg Bowl, and a bowl appearance that would mark tangible progress.
Yeah.
Worst case, another season in the shadows with pressure mounting and patience wearing thin. Obviously, yeah, worst case is another 2-win season, 1-win season. Yeah. It was just a disaster. You get blown out in several big games, like things like that. I don't like best case scenario is definitely make a bowl game, but I don't think that is the only way to have a successful season. Like Landon and I have talked about, even a 4-win season, while not good, not saying it is a very good season given what they were last year. And that shows progress because usually you see a massive jump in year 2, and then in year 3 is usually when you want things to start showing, okay, this is what the program will start being about. So year 2, if you can get to 4 or 5, plus we know how tough the schedule is on top of that. So it's one of the toughest in college football. I've seen it number 1, I've seen it number 3, I've seen it number 8. Like depending on where you look, it's top 10. It's one of the toughest. So we know how tough the schedule is going to be. But if they can win 4 games, and then year 3, there's still pressure because at that point you got to be a bowl eligible team, regardless of your schedule. You have to show that you've made that progress, or things are really going to turn sideways. But year 2, you don't have to necessarily go bowling.
Yes, you have to make tangible. There has to be tangible results, and those, in a way, moral victories. You just have to be in more games, show improvement on both sides of the ball, even if you're not winning. Because I don't want to be too negative here, but if you do see a huge jump where, maybe there is a 6 or 7 win season, some of those are going to be fluky wins.
Yeah.
To get there. And there's I don't remember who wrote this. This is something I read about baseball a long time ago. He called it the plexiglass theory. And it's basically like if a team wins way more games than they should out of nowhere, it's like plexiglass. You bend it, and when you release, it pops back somewhere in the middle. Mm-hmm. So, and if they win 6, 7 games, some of those are going to be fluky. And then in year 3, you're probably looking at a 4 or 5 win team that's fighting for the 6th game, which honestly is probably where they should be in year 3, depending on the schedule. We don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but you expect by year 3 is kind of when you're fighting for that 6th game. That's when you should be bowl eligible, maybe going for that 7th. So if they have a huge jump, it could be a major letdown in season 3 of this regime and cost everyone their jobs.
Right. It's funny you mentioned the plexiglass theory because that's kind of what I think is going to happen at Florida this year. Florida had that kind of fluky year, I believe, with the 4-0 at the end of the season. They were 4-5. Napier's probably going to be fired. And they rattle off 3 straight wins in the regular season and then get the bowl win. And doing that, they beat Ole Miss, who was, obviously very good last year. And then I can't remember who else they beat, but they beat LSU, I think. They beat LSU too in that 3-game stretch. Obviously, Florida State wasn't very good, but they ended up winning. They had to win 2 out of 3 to make the bowl game, and they ended up winning all 3. And next thing you know, and then a lot of people are now high on Florida this year, when they still have one of the toughest schedules also in college football. Number 1 on some, number 2, 3, whatever. And I think Florida's going to come back down to the pack. And then you might see Napier then fired at the end of this after people have been kind of talking about how great of a job he's doing. And he did do a great job last year at the end of the year. But that's the same thing that could happen at Mississippi State, except for you want to see – I think the most important thing, obviously, get to that 3-4 win total, but show that you are a competitive team no matter who you're playing against. And that is, I think, key. And I'm not saying you won't ever get blown out. There's going to be games you just don't show up and you don't have the talent to stay in even though you didn't show up, and you're going to get blown out. But I would say out of the 12 games, 10 of them need to be at least close. And close, like within 3 scores.
Yeah, I'd say something like that. I mean, and you got to have some results. You can't just be like, oh, we lost a lot of close games. You have to get to 4 or 5 wins.
Yeah, ask Scott Frost about close losses.
Because if you are sitting at 2 wins again, this whole coaching staff's probably looking for new jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have actual results and then those like more just growth, moral victory type of wins as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, coming up next, we're going to talk about Camron Thompson as he finally earned his offer from Mississippi State, what led to that, and just how important that is for future recruits moving forward. Whenever wish managing your money felt easier with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. So some of the surprising things that I've noticed from not just from me tracking, but also people I know that are tracking, you don't realize all the stuff that you're subscribed to, all your subscriptions. You get to figure that out and see where some of your spending is going. Also, a big thing that I've had an issue with, which I'm sure I'm not the only one, especially ever since COVID, is getting delivery services, food delivery services, more importantly, but also other delivery services as well. Like some of the big grocery stores offer delivery service of your groceries as well. But that kind of stuff, that adds up over time. And ultimately, I had to tell myself that I had to stop being lazy and I need to start just driving to these places because it's going to end up saving me money. But those are two things just right there that ended up saving me money that were simple fixes. But take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so we got to talk about Camron Thompson. He's a 6'3", 300-pound interior offensive lineman. If you're looking at On3, well, I guess Rivals is now the high school recruiting service for On3. He's from Savannah, Georgia, goes to Jenkins High School, but he earned his offer from Mississippi State. I believe it was last week that he actually got it, and it was largely due to his camp performance at Mississippi State, which was 2 weeks ago. Thompson said knowing he earned the offer made it more special to him and said that the camp appearance was his first time in Starkville. So it ended up being his first visit, and just like that, he gets an offer, and he's going to now officially visit Mississippi State in the fall, along with Georgia Tech as well. And he said he doesn't want to rush his college decision and said that the decision could happen after the season. So that would be right before, obviously, the signing day.
Yep. Things like this are always cool because, you look at his offers, he's a little bit of an under-recruited guy. He has a couple other SEC offers, but mostly it's smaller schools. And things like it's not quite, when the walk-on gets his offer, but it's pretty cool. It's something like that. You see these guys who are very good football players that just for whatever reason, whether it's, maybe they moved before the year or they're just playing in an area that's down football year. The teams just aren't that good. They don't have one or two high-level recruits to bring more scouts out that they just don't get the eyes on them, don't get the offers early, don't get the stars they deserve, but they find a way to these camps. They impress, they get an offer, and a lot of times they end up going to those schools and earning a starting role because they are legitimately good players who then go in with a chip on their shoulder and this almost renewed different level of work ethic because they had to fight a little bit more to get there.
Yeah, and I like my offensive linemen with a chip on their shoulder. I think that's just you have a little dog right there. But I will say he's visited Georgia. He's visited Georgia Tech. Yeah. Obviously, he's from Georgia. Georgia Tech he got offered. Georgia has not offered as of yet. But he's got an impressive offer list as of now. I mean, there's a lot of lower level schools like you mentioned, but Texas A&M's in there, Ole Miss is in there, obviously Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, West Virginia, UCF, Auburn.
Right.
And then
a lot of those have come very recently.
Yeah, a lot. He's starting to get out there, and that's why, like Lena mentioned, that these camps are so important. And I see a lot of people, kind of scoff at, they gave an invite to or gave an offer to a guy that came to the camp. And it's like, no, I mean, that's a great way for some of these guys who, just aren't out there, just
Mhm.
can't get out there just for them to get an offer. And he earned it as soon as he said it was his first time going to Starkville for a camp, and immediately he gets his offer. And so now that adds another one, and apparently he's really considering it because he's going to actually visit Mississippi State. And I also bet it's good for him to kind of get told by a guy that played in the NFL and Phil Loadholt that he is good enough to play in the SEC. I mean, I bet that's something for him now, if he was struggling with any kind of confidence. And I'm sure, a lot of these guys, they know how good they are, but unless the offers start coming, it's still a little hit to your confidence. Like, oh, am I actually as good as I think I am? But if you get, as soon as you get looked at by an NFL guy and a guy that was really good in the NFL, and he says you are good enough and you're good enough to play in the SEC, I bet that's a little confidence boost.
Yeah, and the fact that he's the first guy Loadholt's offered that isn't the Loadholt body type. I mean, 6'3",
Right.
300 has not been the archetype he's been recruiting. So
He's undersized.
It's still very good size, especially for
Yes.
where he is. But I mean, it's not the 6'7", 350-pound guys we've been seeing some of these offers coming in. But that's awesome for him. It's great, and I love, like I mentioned, I love hearing these kind of things. These guys go to camps, they come out with offers. It's part of what makes college football fun is when these guys, when they start getting that traction, and he's clearly getting it with all these other offers and other interests. And who knows, his recruitment might blow up with all these more eyes on him. Maybe he goes out and dominates this year. He might. I mean, he's not like low ranked. It's not like he was some 2-star, 3-star. I think 24/7 has him around 86, 87 as a 3-star. So, I mean, that's not, it's within reason. He's a 4-star by his commitment date if he, blows up.
Yeah, Rivals has him as a 4-star. And so we'll see what ends up happening. And usually when you start getting these offers, now scouts are going to start coming to your games this year. And that's when you start getting more film, you get more recognition, and then you really start blowing up on top of that. And, it's just another great example of Mississippi State finding some diamonds in the rough. Now, obviously, you hope that he ends up coming to your school, but that's a lot of the time. That's what you got to do, especially with the offensive lineman and defense lineman. There's some diamonds in the roughs out there.
Yeah.
And when you're a school like Mississippi State, not recruiting at the Georgia level and Ohio State and all these big school programs, you have to find those diamonds in the roughs, and then you have to develop them, obviously. And so it's possible they found one. And there's a lot of times that these guys, because Mississippi State found them, Georgia Tech too as well, even if he blows up and starts getting some bigger recruits, he might always remember, hey, Mississippi State was one of the early ones that believed in me. I want to go there, despite Georgia now finally offering, or whoever it is,
Yeah, it's like they saw in me what I knew I was, and these other people jumped on me after.
Yeah.
That they found me. So you hope that's what it is. And guys like him and, some of these other recruits that we've talked about that have come in on the offensive line, like you said, a lot of 3-stars. A lot of them have very good offer sheets, but they're not the, consensus 5-star surefire guy. They're going to take some development, going to take some work, and this is where Loadholt's going to earn his money. I mean, we both think very highly of him as an offensive line coach, but this is where he's going to have to prove that he's worth it. And if he turns it around, it's going to be, hats off to him.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll see. Like Thompson said, it's going to probably stretch till maybe after his senior season. So it's not like this one's going to be wrapped up anytime real soon. Also, you got Bryson Cooley, who's still out there. He visited Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Alabama, and LSU. Sounds like it's down to LSU, Alabama, and Mississippi State, but Georgia is starting to pick up in recruiting. Yes, so that could be a fun one. Yeah, and he wants to decide before his senior season begins, which that usually is in August.
So we got that one.
Yeah, but he hadn't set a date yet, so we'll see what ends up happening there. But all right, coming up next, EA has dropped some of the ratings for some of the players out there. Mississippi State tweeted out 4 players. There was one surprise. We're going to talk about that. That's coming next. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So EA Sports is dropping, obviously, the new college football game, EA Sports College Football 26. I got a dog barking now. But anyways, that is set to come out later on this month. And 4 players got announced for Mississippi State. That's let's see. Here we go. Jaron Manning, 85 overall safety. Devon Booth is 86 overall running back. Fluff Bothwell, 90 overall running back.
Mm-hmm.
And Isaac Smith, 88 overall linebacker safety hybrid. So what's your early thoughts on that?
I mean, when this dropped, I texted you and I was a little shocked they had Fluff ahead of Davin. I mean, I would probably have, I mean, not saying I don't think he's a better running back necessarily. I really like his game. But given what Davin Booth did toward the end of the year last year, I don't know. I would have figured they would have had a similar rating, maybe like both 86 or like an 87, 86, something like that. So they are very high. I mean, they don't just toss around 90s overalls in these games. I mean, we've seen the list coming out of the top overall players at different positions. I mean, a 90 overall running back, you're not that far off from like a top 10 spot in at the position.
It's a crazy spot. I mean, Fluff obviously had a great year. 832 yards, 7.5 yards per carry, 13 touchdowns as a freshman at South Alabama. But Booth also, he had 759 yards, 5 yards per carry, and 5 touchdowns at Mississippi State in the SEC.
Yeah.
So it's not like he had this bad season. And there's a 4 overall difference between the two. Isaac Smith is also surprises me, being 88. He's one of the leaders in tackles in the country, and I thought he for sure would have been in the 90s, like maybe even a 91, 92, somewhere around there. So I was a little surprised at Isaac.
Yeah, I think maybe some of that is because it's that linebacker safety hybrid. I think that might be kind of what's bringing down that overall, because the game has never been great at ranking and teaching you how to develop hybrids when you play it. So that's probably some of it. I mean, 88, not bad. I mean, heck, on that game, if you get a team of 88, you're running through everybody. So, I mean, it's not bad on there. The fact that they got, I mean, I'm going back to it, Fluff, was a sophomore at 90 overall. You play a dynasty with Mississippi State, you're going to be having you a 99 overall running back in a couple of years.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, so I tweeted back. I said, "High on Fluff, high on Fluff." But we almost put that as our little graphic.
We would have.
Yeah, we should have done that on the thumbnail. But no, I mean, hey, I hope he lives up to it. Up to that rating during the season. If you have him and Booth in the backfield and both have can live up to those ratings, that's a really good rushing attack. It takes the pressure off.
Yeah, you take the pressure off of Chapin, especially if that offensive line develops a little bit. That's going to be if you have the 1-2 punch like that, that offense can really be cooking. And going to the defense, those two guys, Manning and Smith, those are two of your leaders on defense, two of your better tacklers. Of course they're going to be the higher ranked guys.
Right. I'm
interested to see where some of these corners shake out, because that's one of the areas of concern for this defense is corners. And, I'm interested to see where all these transfers that we've brought in here on both sides of the line, where they rank. So I'm excited for this game. I love playing the game. I'm ready for it to come out.
Yeah, same. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, so we'll just see what ends up happening. Obviously, we know Jeff Lebby loves running the football. That kind of starts his whole offense. And so if you got two really good running backs back there, like we think they do, and I always say run blocking is easier than pass blocking, in my opinion. Maybe you can have an offense that takes that leap that we all think they can. So
hopefully,
yeah, time will tell. But, all right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and sign important fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos on there, Monday through Friday. Also, hit the like, subscribe, and ring the bell on YouTube. We talked about it yesterday. We want to get to 1,000 followers or subscribers by football season, or at least early in football season.
Yes.
We've gained about 500 subscribers in the last 3 months since we took over the account. We'd love to keep that momentum going into the season. So help us out with that. We got SEC Media Days coming up. We got a lot of exciting things coming up, a lot of exciting things in the works. So we'll talk about all that at a later date. But yes, definitely hit that like, subscribe, tell your friends, hit the bell so you get notified when we post a video.
If your friends don't want to subscribe, just take their phone and subscribe anyway.
Subscribe for them. They don't have to watch us.
Thank you later.
Definitely watch us. But yeah, until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.